Steve and Tobe. This is Susan. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. This is Tobe.
Yes, sounds good.
This is Tobe. Are you able to see the KSDE slide?
Yes, Tobe, I can see them.
Thank you. I'm going to pull that back off then. This is Tobe. Are you able to see the TEA agenda? And if so, does it look right? Does it need to be smaller, bigger?
It looks okay to me. It's kind of a personal preference thing.
Okay, sounds good. I'll leave it up there.
Good morning. Wanted to do a quick check. Can everybody see and hear me?
This is Tobe. Sounds good. Looks good.
Excellent.
Good morning, Ray.
Hi, Ray.
There we go. Do you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
I have to get retrained on this technology every time.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone. Good morning, Chair Humphrey.
Good morning, everybody.
All right.
Dave Rice has joined.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You
Good
still
morning.
alive, Deborah?
Looks like it's 10 o'clock. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, great. Let's call the meeting to order. This TEA meeting is a regularly scheduled conference call meeting being held via Zoom. Please mute your microphones. TEA members, board staff, or institutional staff who have comments or questions should ask to be recognized. Everyone other than the recognized speaker should keep their microphones muted. Each time you are recognized to speak, please state your name and your title before you begin so that you can be readily identified by listeners as well as observers. For each action item, I will state a motion and ask if someone will make that motion. For each motion made, I will ask for a second. For each motion made and seconded, I will ask Susan to call roll to determine how each TEA member is voting and to announce the results of the vote. We will not do a roll call for approval of minutes, and we do not need a motion, second, or vote for recess or adjournment unless a TEA member requests one. We will not have an opportunity for public comment during this meeting. We will not have an executive session during this meeting. So, moving on with our meeting, I would like to ask if there are any changes or additions to the agenda. I don't see a show of hands, but I would like to add a finalized letter to the governor that I think it just finished up yesterday. I think everybody has gotten an email or pretty much should know about this meeting, but it's a budget request that we're asking the governor to approve that will shore up some things that we found that were not previously included. And if I could ask Scott, maybe Scott, you can describe a little more about the process in this letter, if that's okay.
Scott, you're muted.
I'll try it again. Okay, I apologize. All these times you'd think I'd have it figured out by now. I know you're just asking right now to add it to the agenda, and so what we're really asking for, this is a letter that we've submitted before, requesting additional items that were not included or we do not believe will be included in the initial budget given to the governor by the budget office. So we have an opportunity to provide our thoughts and comments regarding what else might be included in that budget, and that's what this letter's intent is to do. So we would ask that it be added to the agenda. I would say as item H on the agenda, with the idea that we would discuss it as a group to make sure you all are comfortable basically with what we are proposing to say at that time.
Mr. Chair, this is Curtis. I would move to adopt the agenda as amended.
Thank you, Curtis. Do I have a second?
This is Ray, second.
Thank you, Ray. Let's go ahead and get a vote on this. Susan, if you could call the roll.
Yes, I have a motion by member Steven and a second by member Frederick. Member Hess?
Yes.
Member Hoover?
Yes.
Member Humphrey?
Yes.
Member McCulka?
Yes.
Member Rice?
Yes.
Member Zimmer?
Yes.
Member Bean?
Yes.
Member Clark? And Chair Humphrey, unless I have missed a couple of members who have recently joined the call, that does conclude the roll and the motion carries.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Appreciate that. So we'll add that letter as item H to the agenda. Okay, moving on. Approval of the previous minutes. The minutes from the previous TEA meeting are included in your meeting packet. Are there any changes to the minutes? And if not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Natalie Clark, I make a motion to approve minutes as presented.
Thanks, Natalie. Can I get a second?
This is Cindy, second.
Thanks, Cindy. Any opposed? Okay, if none, then I call a motion carried. All right, moving on again. Reports, introductions. Are there any introductions that anyone wants to make? Okay, it looks like we have none. Chair's report, something for me. I was able to attend the WSU Tech Foundation annual luncheon to um, uh, basically to recognize private donors for scholarships, as well as the students that receive those scholarships. Pretty moving presentation. It was well attended. Fortunately for me, my company also provides a scholarship for students at WSU Tech. So it was nice to see all that and to meet that student that got the Jet Airworks scholarship this year. So any other TEA members who have a report they'd like to give regarding any of their activities? I don't see a show of hands. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on. So I'd like to call on Vice President Scott Smathers to provide us with a report on workforce development activities. Vice President Smathers.
Thank you, Chair Humphrey. It's been a short turnaround, so I only have a few items to mention this month. I wanted to let you all know that Hector Martinez, who runs our adult ed area, is the director of our adult ed area, has been named president-elect of COABE, which is the Coalition of Adult Basic Education. And that group is a nationwide group of around 45,000 people. So that's both great for our state and great for Hector, and I wanted to recognize him on that. We continue to meet with multiple entities to see how we might better meet our migrant workforce in Kansas and around the nation. And that's an area that we have never really been directly involved in with our programs, and it's something that we are now looking at getting involved in. So new area we're moving into from an adult ed perspective, and I wanted to let you all know that. I wanted to let you all know, and I think I put this in a message to you all, that there seems to have been some confusion regarding our Excel and CTE fee reporting process. So unless we hear differently from you all, we'll be moving forward with delaying the review and instead reopening the fee collection process to make sure that that is clarified and that institutions have the ability to make sure they have the information input as the intent was given. So we will be working on that over the next month. What that does mean is that will also then delay your review process by about a 1 month time frame. So it is what it is, but we'll try to get it cleared up and hopefully resolve any concerns that the institutions have. And then lastly, I wanted to let you know that we did give a presentation at the principal, Director Henry and I gave a presentation at the principal's conference. And why we didn't have a whole lot of attendees there, it was really good. They gave us some really good ideas for where we might be able to get the information out to them a little better going forward. They were very surprised at the amount of information we have on our website. They had no idea that it was there. And so it is something that we will probably look at following up with at a later date to try to make sure that we continue to do that, because I do think it's an opportunity for us to make sure that the individual schools have an idea of what is available to them and what is out there. And with that, I will stand for questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Vice President Smathers, and congratulations, Hector. It's a great achievement you got there. That's great. And then moving on, I'd like to recognize President Ryan Ruda of Garden City Community College to provide us with a community college report. President Ruda.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Humphrey and members of TEA. Wanted to just provide some context. This month's report is focusing on the Building a Future plan specific to economic prosperity. I wanted to highlight some of the work being done by a few of the community colleges across the state specific to economic prosperity. At Labette Community College, they are committed to providing greater services for regional workforce throughout Southeast Kansas and beyond. As an example, last year they had 82 program graduates within the EMT, CNA, and Med Aid programs that are employed at local businesses and industries in Southeast Kansas. Additionally, through the Labette Workforce and Allied Health Program, they also support firefighters in Southeast Kansas and beyond. As an example, this last year, they provided 151 participants from over 44 surrounding cities with fire training, and that represented 50 fire departments that were receiving fire training through Labette Community College. At Independence Community College, they've recently been named as an enabling partners to increase innovation capacity grant through the National Science Foundation. This grant is a total of $400,000 and will focus a lot of their work on partnerships throughout Southeast Kansas and being able to foster and increase academic and industry partnerships that establish more working relationships and synergy in that capacity. And then they also received an advanced technology education grant from the National Science Foundation that will work to support curriculum development and create some new career pathways through their Fab Lab at the college. At Johnson County Community College, they work in a variety of ways to expand economic prosperity. Specifically, they have recently purchased 10 acres of land that will be used to create a dedicated CDL training range and testing site. This project was funded by state funds and private donations and will be open in early fall of 2024, where they anticipate increasing the number of CDL students that can go through their program from where it currently stands at 300 to over 500 annually. They're also working with Panasonic and some other area community colleges and universities to assess workforce and training needs at Panasonic at their new DeSoto, Kansas site, and really focusing on what is needed for everything from factory floor needs to driver's ed and English language proficiency. They've also received a grant from General Motors to participate in a national initiative for manufacturing that funds an 18-month study to research best practices for integrating advanced manufacturing credentials into college curriculum and exploring ways in which they can launch individuals into higher wage opportunities. At Pratt Community College, they have partnered with Barton Community College to offer both the RN and LPN nursing programs on the Pratt campus through Barton. Both of these initiatives use Barton faculty and it provides a great example of partnership as well as ways to continue meeting needs within the Pratt community and surrounding area. They have also began planning some stages to begin a CDL training program at Pratt Community College with the hopes of being able to have their first class up and running in the spring of 2024. At Kansas City, Kansas Community College, they have recently been designated as a Hispanic serving institution, and they have the highest success and graduation rates for African American students among all Kansas community colleges. They've been engaged and are working as an official training partner through the Kansas Federation for Advanced Manufacturing, where they are working with several industry partners and specifically working to support Panasonic's energy expansion in Kansas as well. To help address Panasonic's workforce needs, they have secured a Kansas labor grant that will grow the automation engineer technology program capacity at Kansas City, Kansas. And then they have also recently celebrated the groundbreaking of their new community education health and wellness center, which will be constructed in downtown Kansas City. And this is the first public-private partnership of its kind, $71 million center that will be co-owned and operated by Kansas City, Kansas Community College, Swope Health, and Community America Credit Union to serve social and economic inequities in the urban area of Wyandotte County. So great initiatives on that end. Finally, just wanted to recognize both Cloud County Community College and Coffeyville Community College. Both of these institutions have recently been named to the top 10% of community colleges nationally by the Aspen Prize for Community College Excellence. Both of these institutions will be competing for a $1 million grand prize. This is a tremendous accomplishment because as a community college, they are comprehensive serving to students, demonstrating high levels of student success. As a community college, they serve all populations, all students, not just technical, but technical and transfer. So want to commend the work being done by both Cloud County and Coffeyville, as well as the others mentioned there today, and happy to stand for questions. All right, thank you.
Thank you, President Ruda. Next, I'd like to recognize President Greg Nichols of Salina Technical College to provide us with a technical college report. President Nichols.
Well, good morning. Thank you for allowing me to present on behalf of the technical colleges. We do have a slide presentation for you. I want to thank Tobias Wood. He's helping me out with this, so go ahead and advance. So we're going to go a little bit of a different route. One of the things that the technical colleges have really homed in on is advanced manufacturing. And so the base operating grant that the state of Kansas has provided, we wanted to kind of report where each of the institutions were looking to utilize that funding to bolster our colleges and help enhance the workforce education. So we're going to start with North Central Tech. As you can see, they are looking at using the additional support for different areas: carpentry, commercial truck driving, telecommunications, and respiratory care. They have also received funds for their additional programming and respiratory care in the Hayes area at their Hayes campus. So they plan on groundbreaking in January for or in the spring for that new facility for them. Go ahead and advance. Washburn Tech, their base operating grant, they're looking at, again, some manufacturing and traditional trades, welding and HVAC. They're going to spend a pretty good chunk of that funding to improve and enhance those programs. They are also expanding it into aviation technology. There's a 3-city program, Salina, Topeka, and Wichita, that will be looking at some partnerships to attract aviation maintenance. Apprenticeship growth is another area for them, as you can see, advanced manufacturing, machine tool, advanced systems tech, and also everybody, I think, in the whole state and maybe the entire country looking at the child care issues that we have, so early childhood education. Next slide. Over at Flint Hills, pretty strong in manufacturing there as well. Their advanced manufacturing program, programmable logic controls lab, they're going to use some funding there. Additional personnel. That's one of the challenges that we find in technical education is we're kind of robbing those individuals out of industry to come in and train for us. So sometimes that takes a little bit more enticing to bring them over, but we always promise we'll give them back, 3, 4, 10-fold. We'll give you back more students that or workforce once we get done with them. So they're also going to look at design plans for their facility expansion and facilities maintenance and renovation there. They're looking at targeting another program commercial truck driving or CDL, as well as precision ag. So they're looking at some new programs in their area as well. Next, please. So at Salina Tech, this is an architectural rendering of our new facility that our board has recently approved the contract. So we will be breaking ground late this fall, early winter. Sorry, I just got a pop-up there. So the industrial maintenance and automation facility, it's approximately 15,000 square feet, a little bit more than 15,000. It will have some multi-purpose spaces for students to work in their labs or multi-use classrooms, things like that. We've got additional office space, of course, and shop space. On the right side of that picture, there's a approximately 20-foot tall shop space on the most of the entire right side, and then some classrooms on the lower left side of that. So really a great enhancement to our facilities. We're also going to use some of the funding to enhance current programs that we have: police science, fire science, EMT. Those programs are growing. We've brought them onto our campus from the high school locations where they originated. And also we've expanded our welding and automotive into an additional location that has really met the need in some of our rural parts. Next slide, please. So at Northwest Kansas Technical College, soon to be Fort Hays Tech Northwest, there are additional programs that they're looking at. Commercial truck driving, again, that seems to be a pretty significant need throughout the state and throughout the country. So they're looking at bolstering that program with additional funding, completing renovations of the Price Convention and Training Center. So that was a partnership with, I believe it's the old Elks Lodge in Goodland. So I think they're looking at renovating, expanding that area for multiple community use. Also, the additional equipment for their power sports program, which is a new program that they've launched recently, trying to get additional equipment and bolster that for their college. Next, please. WSU Tech, of course, they're heavy into aviation, but they are using a good chunk of the additional funding to renovate a building, what they call Building C of the City Center campus. That they want to enhance their transportation maintenance education. But they will also use a portion of that for additional tools and equipment that they need for that. The two components combined lead to increased enrollment with one of their secondary student partners. That's one of the things that is really needed in the Wichita metropolitan area, some connections with the students to get them right into the workforce pretty soon after graduation. Foley and Walker are providing in-kind support to help enhance that additional funding, and WSU Tech can enhance their customized training for those campuses. Next slide, please. At Manhattan Tech, they've got a pretty substantial building project that they're looking at, about a $1.3 million portion of that funding for their Advanced Technology Center. 47,000 square feet. I think they've got some architectural renditioning of those building additions there. Expand the capacity for construction trades, HVAC, electrical power, distribution, critical environment tech, and industrial engineering tech. So those If you've been to their campus, they've always been space limited, but this should really bolster their college and the ability to serve the Manhattan area. They have been really aggressive in fundraising, and they've gotten a significant number of additional donations, six-figure donations, 8 additional large donations for that. And the city of Manhattan providing $1 million over the next 5 years to support that project as well. So great collaboration between their community and the state. All right, next slide, please. So some of the other funds that we're looking at, cybersecurity funds and IT, we're looking at professional development for IT staff and for a lot of staff to make sure that we understand cybersecurity risks that are out there. Apprenticeship and business engagement funds. Most of the colleges plan on either starting or enhancing their current business and industry partnerships through trainings and apprenticeship and internship availabilities within the regions that we serve. KTC requests the support to continue those funds in the appropriate requests, and I think that's what Vice President Smathers alluded to earlier with the Division of Budget and the governor's budget request. So we certainly support continuation of those funds. As we don't have local taxing authority, these help the institutions advance their mission and connect with those industry partners in their regions, also helping develop their curriculum, keeping it up to date, and also providing some professional development for our current staff. So next slide, please. We would also like to extend our congratulations to Coffeyville and Cloud Community Colleges for their excellence in being awarded the top 150, Aspen 150. There are 5 technical colleges also on the list. Flint Hills, Manhattan, North Central, Northwest, and Salina Tech are all Aspen 150 members. That is a significant, I think it's a large statement across the entire U.S. There are 7 colleges in Kansas, and I know there have been other colleges on the list in previous years as well, but that just speaks collectively of the strength of Kansas higher education, that we have 7 out of the 150, and we're one of the smallest states in terms of population. We have done a significant job of really having quality education, quality institutions in this state. So congratulations to all of those for the Aspen 2025 and also for those that have been past Aspen 150 award winners. And that concludes my presentation. If you do have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. All right, thank you.
Thank you, President Nichols. Appreciate that. So moving on to other matters, I'd like to call on Director Adam York to provide us with a legislative update. Director York.
Thank you, Chair Humphrey. I am Adam York, Director of Government Relations for the Kansas Board of Regents, for the record. And we are in the final countdown to the new legislative session, which starts January 8th. That's 7 weeks and 4 days, if anyone is counting. And for a quick outlook about the fiscal year ahead, the Division of Budget did meet earlier last week and concluded that fiscal year 25 ending balance would look something in the ballpark of $3.5 billion in the state's coffers. That is helpful to give an outlook of where the legislature and the governor may be looking to allocate that money or look at ways to enhance the tax code in the state. The opinions for how to do that differ certainly between the parties, but tax cuts do remain in focus for both parties. It is an election year in 2024 where all members of the state legislature are up for election. House of Representatives members are on a 2-year cycle. They are elected every 2 years. Senators are elected every 4 years, the last election cycle for the Kansas Senate being in 2020. All statewide elected office holders are not on this upcoming election cycle. That includes the governor, the secretary of state, the attorney general, and the treasurer, of course. And speaking of the governor, she just concluded a foreign trade mission to Germany, where she was working with German companies in Frankfurt with the U.S. consulate to inspire and seek additional foreign investment, not just into the United States, but into Kansas, right here in the center. And speaking of the governor, the State Finance Council did meet earlier this week on Monday, November 11th. The State Finance Council is made up of the governor and legislative leadership, looking at the state water plan and reallocation of monies that the legislature has authorized the State Finance Council to move around between several state agencies. In this case, included about $15.8 billion in water quantity and quality projects in the state. Certainly, we think about municipal water and infrastructure there, but also the aquifer and how it supports agriculture. So many projects requiring skilled workforce and precision ag on that front. Did want to also move on that yesterday, the Board of Regents heard a first read of the non-budgetary legislative proposals that board office staff will be seeking for the legislative session in 2024, and 3 items of note for that first read that we will continue to work and solicit feedback on will include a technical fix to the Accelerating Opportunities Kansas program for a $500 stipend. It is our understanding that the way that stipend was written in the 2023 legislature that has precluded AOK GED students, so we'll be seeking a fix there. We will also be looking to enhance nursing service scholarship programs. The impacts there would be removing the requirement to obtain a sponsor, removing the cap for the scholarship award limit, which is currently set at 250 awardees, which would allow more nursing students to receive the scholarship, and simply providing more state funding for the nurse service scholarship should the state choose to do so. And lastly, in a segue to that item, also seeking the board's action to request the legislature to unify our service scholarship penalties. This would be adjusting the non-compliance date of when a scholarship recipient is found to be out of compliance with the service requirements of those scholarships on the date to be found out of compliance, rather than the date that those scholarships were first awarded, as well as unifying the rates, the interest rates across all 10 of those service scholarships. So with that, be happy to stand for questions.
Like we have no questions. Thanks, Director York. Appreciate it. Next, Vice President Smathers, could you please present us with the FY 2023 TEA legislative report? Oops.
Thank you, Chair Humphrey.
Yeah, that's right.
No, you're perfect. I'm running late. I apologize. I keep forgetting to click on my microphone on for some reason today. Every year, the TEA is required by statute to submit a report to the legislature on what the TEA undertook the previous year. In your packet is a copy of the report that staff has generated and what we're proposing the TEA submit for this year. And I'm not going to bother going through it all. It was a busy year as normal, and with that, I will stand for questions.
No questions, Scott. I just wanted to say it was a really busy year as you look through that. And thank you. And thank you to all the staff and individuals that work so hard to make it happen.
Thank you.
Scott, Dave Rice, again, good report, echoing what Deborah said. Who specifically sees it after it's submitted?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question.
Who actually sees it at the state level and reviews it?
My understanding is that they changed the statute, and I'd need to go back and double check it, but I believe it goes to both the House Education Committee as well as the Senate Education Committee for review Then of course just it's made public. It's put in with multiple other reports that we also have to submit. It is also put on our website and goes to legislative leadership as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there's no more questions, thank you very much, Vice President Smathers. And I would accept a motion to approve the TEA FY 2023 legislative report as presented.
It's Dave Rice. I'd make that motion.
Secretary
Thanks,
Schultz.
Dave. Sorry, who's that, please?
Sorry, Secretary Schultz.
Thanks, Secretary Schultz. Let's see. If there are no more questions or comments, I would ask Susan to go ahead and take a roll call. Roll call vote, sorry.
Yes, I have a motion by Member Rice and a second by Member Schultz. Member Frederick,
Yes.
Member Hess,
Yes.
Member Hoover,
Yes.
Chair Humphrey,
Yes.
Member McCulka,
Yes.
Member Sneeden, Member Sneeden, Member Zimmer,
Yes.
Member Clark,
Yes.
Chair Humphrey. That completes the roll and the motion carries.
All right, thank you, Susan. Next, I'd like to call on Associate Director Roberts to provide us with the State Initiative Technology, or sorry, State and Innovative Technology Grant recommendations. I'm sorry. Associate Director Roberts, getting tongue-tied here.
Thank you, Chair Humphrey, and good morning, everyone. I'm Crystal Roberts, Associate Director for Workforce Development. And for the State Innovative Technology Grant, today I have for your review a summary of the proposals and award amounts recommended for consideration. All institutions recommended for awards were invited to attend today's meeting and may provide additional information at the TEA's request. The state statute that established the Innovative Technology Grant provides funding that is appropriated on an annual basis and is awarded to post-secondary CTE institutions through a competitive grant process. The basic criteria for grant awards are that first, private businesses must provide financial or in-kind support or any combination thereof to the CTE institution equaling 100% of the amount of the grant. The technical course or program must relate to a business or industry located in the service area of that CTE institution. The technical course or program must relate to emerging technologies, manufacturing, or documented areas of skill shortages. And in addition, upon completion of the project, institutions receiving a grant award must submit all required reports and forms within the required timeframe. So with the criteria provided by that statute, what follows is a summary of the review committee's recommendations. So first, we have Cloud County Community College Nursing and Allied Health Programs. They're requesting $18,732 in grant funds to purchase training headwall equipment to provide students with realistic patient care simulations, including the ability to mimic air, oxygen, and suction with functioning air supply devices. Business and industry partners of North Central Kansas Medical Center and Republic County Hospital have provided $18,732 total in-kind match. Second, we have Cali Community College Wind Energy Technology is requesting $20,969 in grant funds to purchase new wind energy equipment that is necessary to provide students with the innovative short-term training model required to fill the growing local workforce needs. The business and industry partner Next Era Energy has provided an $80,000 industry in-kind match. Next, we move to Neosho County Community College. Their automotive technology program is requesting $42,000 in grant funds to purchase innovative equipment for the new Mitchell Career and Technology Center's Automotive Technology Lab. The business industry partner Nuwa Industries Incorporated has provided a $275,000 industry donation of matching funds. Fourth, we have Salina Area Technical College. Their automotive technology program is requesting $8,637 in grant funds to purchase a Ranger combination disc and drum brake lathe for the Lincoln, Kansas campus to allow students to train on the most current equipment. The business and industry partner, Long MacArthur Inc., has provided a $30,000 industry in-kind match. Fifth, we have Washburn Institute of Technology Welding Program. They're requesting $24,486 in grant funds to purchase 2 hydraulic wraparound benders that will provide a high level of accuracy in destructive testing, as well as testing material types that are not possible with the previous equipment options. Business and industry partners of Ernest Spencer and PTMW have provided $53,860 total of in-kind match. And finally, we have WSU Tech Automotive Technology Program. They are requesting $41,075 in grant funds to purchase an innovative Advanced Driver Assistance System, ADAS, recalibration system to train students to service ADAS technology in both personal and commercial vehicles. Their business and industry partner, WKI Kentworth, has provided $45,000 industry in-kind match. Board staff have reviewed the proposals and present them for your discussion and approval. With that, I will stand for any questions.
Mr. Chairman, this is Deb McCulkin. I'm going to abstain from this vote.
All right, thanks, Deborah. Looks like no questions, so thank you very much, Associate Director Roberts. I would accept a motion to approve the State Innovative Technology Grant recommendations as presented.
This is Cindy, so moved.
All right, thanks, Cindy. Can I get a second?
This is Member Hess, I'd second it.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. If there are any questions or comments before we vote. Okay, Susan, asked to take a roll call vote, please.
Yes, I have a motion by Member Hoover and a second by Member Hess. Member Frederick,
Yes.
Chair Humphrey,
Yes.
Member Rice,
Yes.
Member Sneeden, Member Sneeden, Member Zimmer,
Yes.
Member Bean,
Yes.
Member Clark,
Yes.
Member Schultz,
Yes.
Chair Humphrey. That completes the roll and the motion carries.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you again, Associate Director Roberts. Next, I'd like to recognize Member Natalie Clark, who in her capacity with the Kansas Department of Education will provide us with a K-12 update. Member Clark.
Thank you. I'm Natalie Clark, Assistant Director, Kansas State Department of Education on the Career Standards and Assessment Services team. And Tobias is helping me. Tobias, it says the host has disabled the participant screen sharing. Great. Okay. Thank you. So I have a few updates to share with you this morning. Next slide. Our vision for Kansas. Kansas leads the world in the success of each student. A new graphic that you might not have seen, thinking of kindergarten readiness, Kansans can competencies, civic engagement, and the individual plan of study, and our outcomes, academic, graduation, and post-secondary success for each student. And thinking about fundamentals and establishing fundamentals as the basis for school improvement in Kansas. What are the fundamentals? Structured literacy, standards alignment, balanced assessment, and quality instruction. want to share with you the math assessment scores from the most recent 2023 and 2022 school years. In this graph, you'll see the scores include all grade levels assessed, all students in grades 3 through 8 and 10. In this chart, we see the English language arts assessment scores. The scores above include all the grade levels assessed, so assessed in grades 3 through 8 and 10, and all students. And this is our post-secondary progress. And looking at that as a 5-year average with a 2-year lag measure, I'm looking at post-secondary progress and graduation. This year, the graduation has not been finalized. Chronic absenteeism rates, still too high, but I wanted to point out the most recent year, 2023, there was a decrease by 3.59%. A student is deemed chronically absent if they miss 10% or more of school days. So now I'm going to shift to career and technical education updates. It is the area that I work in. We have a new completer definition for the 2023-2024 school year. We've expanded the completer definition to align with the Perkins quality indicators, as well as the state board new graduation requirement, post-secondary assets, and the U.S. Department of Education's 4 pillars of success. We have added that a completer, in addition to completing 3 secondary level credits in a single pathway, with at least 2 of those being a technical and application course, they can earn the items we've added would be an Excel and CTE qualifying recognized credential aligned to the pathway that they've completed the coursework in, 9+ college hours leading to completion of a certificate or post-secondary program aligned to the pathway's program of study, and or completion of a high-quality work-based learning career preparation experience, and placing artifacts that demonstrate completion of the above in their electronic portfolio section of the individual plan of study. I wanted to clarify the 9+ college hours leading to the completion of a certificate or post-secondary program that's aligned to the pathway program of study. That option is the option that we turn in for our performance level. If you would click the next few boxes there, and it's indicator 5S2. Director Henry will be presenting more on this later, but it's a program quality indicator that we turn in. Those concentrators that have earned post-secondary credits graduated in the relevant CTE program or program of study. I wanted to mention, and many of you I'm sure are aware, that our national career cluster framework is undergoing a modernization. We attended the meeting, advanced CTE meeting, along with KBOR, which they informed us that these revisions or modernization should be complete an estimation of August of 2024. So advisory committees are meeting in the groups listed here currently. I wanted to tell you a little bit about our Kansas Advisory Committee for Career and Technical Education and share who's on that committee. We have a representative of each of our 16 career clusters. Our current chair is Shannon Bohm. She's the president of Schaefer Architecture. And then these are our members in each of those 16 career clusters, as well as a representative from the State Board of Education and MAW. In addition to that, we're happy to have our advisory members join us, include Department of Commerce, Labor, Board of Regents, as well as coordinators from school districts and a member from the Technical Education Authority. We meet quarterly, and at that time, we are provided with emerging trends from business and industry. I'm happy to say that our CTE team is fully staffed, and this is our team representing each of the clusters and pathways that we have available in Kansas. We are currently reviewing 7 of our 16 career clusters in Kansas. These changes will not go into effect until the 2025-26 school year. We are currently reviewing them, and I want to share the members of the review committee in agriculture, food, and natural resources, architecture and construction, arts, AV, technology and communications, education and training, engineering, finance, and health and biosciences. The review committees are chaired by a member of our advisory committee that we shared earlier. We also invite business and industry actively engaged in the industries in which we're reviewing, as you see here. I'd like to thank all of our partners in business and industry for helping us review. Each of these cluster reviews met face-to-face for a full day, and they will continue with at least another virtual meeting and individual pathway meetings as needed. We also thank our post-secondary partners who have volunteered to serve the field in our cluster review areas, both 2-year and 4-year institutions. And we also want to thank our secondary educators. We strive to have representation from all geographic locations in Kansas, as well as all sizes of districts. And we do state that these secondary educators have to be actively teaching the courses in the clusters and pathways that we are reviewing. Architecture and construction. They actually are meeting today via Zoom. As you can see, the chair is Shannon Bohm, who is also the chair of our advisory committee. We have a great group of business and industry partners who are volunteering their time to help us review these pathways and courses within the competencies. A great group of post-secondary educators also volunteering their time looking at our secondary to make sure we're aligning with post-secondary initiatives. And secondary educators from across the state in all sizes of districts. We're reviewing the engineering career cluster. A little bit about our time frame. We have public comment. We need to be wrapped up with recommendations received by our committee prior to March 1. All of the recommendations go out for public comment for at least 30 days. In April, they're brought to our advisory committee for information only. And then in June, they're brought to the advisory committee for action. Keeping in mind this year it is a little different. We're watching the national model to see how it's changed also and being aware of that particular piece. And it goes to the State Board of Education in August. So looking at our cluster review committee, the chair and our post-secondary business partners, as well as our secondary educators. Part of this review this year is a discussion of an automation pathway. Several of our new businesses represented on the committee and have reached out to us requesting our students learn more about electronics, maintenance of electronics, and programmable logic controllers. Arts, AV, and Communications career cluster. We have a great group. I wanted to share with you who's on our committee, business and industry partners, post-secondary educators, and our secondary educators from across the state. We're reviewing health and bioscience. A little bit other comment as we look at some of these review committee members. I wanted to say that we want to thank the Department of Labor for each of these cluster review face-to-face committee meetings. Labor Market Information Services have provided labor market information related to Kansas and our clusters and pathways, looking at our SIP and our SOC, our occupation codes. Also a thanks to the Board of Regents. They have come and we have asked them about program alignment so that we're aware of possibilities for program alignment. And these are our business and industry and post-secondary partners. And our secondary education in the health and bioscience review. Part of this, we look at the national standards. We look at the credentials, assessments, and certifications. Business finance. Our business finance cluster meets tomorrow for their second meeting. Thanks to Joe Steffen, our chair, and business and industry partners that are serving. Our post-secondary educators and our secondary educators. Education and training. We have a great group of post-secondary represented. Industry leaders, thanks to Carla Wiscombe, Director of Academic Affairs from KBOR, for serving. And our secondary educators. So I wanted you to be a little bit aware of our advisory committee, our members, and the work we have reviewing 7 of our 16 clusters currently in the state. Individual plan of study. I wanted to update you on our process. We have an individual plan of study digital reference guide. We update as we have new resources. There's 56 pages in the guide. It includes qualified admissions information, Kansas Scholars Curriculum, and financial aid. Tara Labar, we send information to her and she updates it each year. This particular item that you're seeing on the screen is an IPS student summary. I want to tell you a little bit about this work we presented to the Board of Regents, but we haven't had the opportunity to share with the TEA that Tara Labar and I met for a year with an IPS coordinating work group. And this work group included 3 high school counselors, 4 post-secondary academic advisors, 3 post-secondary admissions representatives, Greenbush Service Center CTE coordinator, KBOR and KSDE staff. We had a district present their individual plan of study scope and sequence. We actually had a high school student present their electronic portfolio so that all parties were familiar with the individual plan of study process. And then we asked the group, what is most important, or based upon all of this information, what would you like to know when students come to you at the post-secondary level? And so this IPS student summary was the outcome of that year's worth of work. They would like for the students to be able to articulate in each of these areas their individual plan of study that would include their post-secondary goals, interests and experiences, their strengths, success strategies if they've had supports in high school to be successful, how they're going to continue those into post-secondary, what courses they've taken in high school and dual credit courses that were completed, work-based learning experiences, employability skills. Want to learn a little bit about the research that they have as far as industry trends and career interests, as well as assessments and certifications. And this is placed in the student's electronic portfolio. I wanted to share some new resources. We just completed a professional development around the state of Kansas. We made 7 stops for career and technical education. And then we went around the state one more time at our service centers and we presented individual plan of study professional development. The Regional Educational Laboratory Central, or RELS Central, has been working with Kansas and they'll continue to do so for 4 additional years. They have developed a theory of change, and the document is available on the U.S. Department of Education's website. This particular piece is, and they have also, next slide, please. It aligns with our Kansas career development cycle. And so it's structured, this is a page from our individual plan of study digital reference guide, knowing yourself as a student, exploring your options, which include pathways, labor market trends, post-secondary, making choices, goal setting and planning, and taking action. So increasing knowledge and skills, being able to market or articulate themselves, student self-efficacy, and employment, being aware of opportunities that exist in Kansas. In addition, each year we send out a survey to all districts and we decide which areas that we want to focus on for professional development. This year, REL helped us with goal setting. We think about what are those strategies that districts can put in place that will make a big difference in each student's planning, both their academic and career plan. We looked at goal setting. We looked at the use of electronic portfolios. So REL reviewed the literature, and then they, in these documents, have evidence-based strategies for both goal setting and individual plan of study. We also, thank you. If you're interested, they're also placed on the U.S. Department of Education's website. Next slide. One thing I did want to mention, we developed a scope and sequence in partnership with REL, and something we provided to each district. We gathered what are those activities that you're doing at each grade level and those measures. So it was a starting place for some districts on what are those activities that you're doing at each grade level and how are you measuring them. Shifting gears, this is information I reported at the interim legislative session. How we map courses, specifically the college and career field piece with a letter L or C. So if a course is mapped with an L, the last letter following the 5-digit Kansas Career Course Code number, it is a course from the Excel and CTE list or the tiered technical funded tuition-free courses. As you can see, if they're mapped with an L, they do not receive 0.5 weighted funding. They may be approved in a pathway, and the student does earn college credit. So it's a dual credit opportunity for the student. If a course is marked as a C, as you can see here, they do receive weighted funding because the student is paying tuition for that course. In some case, the district may be paying tuition. It can be in an approved pathway, and it does earn college credit. This is the completed most recent school year to show that within our pathways, keeping in mind not all districts have all pathways, not all of the tiered technical funded courses align with the courses in the pathways, but if they do, that the number mapped with an L, which were the Excel and CTE concurrent credit courses, or a C, which were the concurrent credit, and then the total credits mapped within pathways within the 2022 school year. We were interested to see among the 7 career fields, opportunities for students, and if they had Excel and CTE courses or college credit courses they paid tuition for that were mapped within the pathways. One thing we did to promote awareness of the tiered technical courses, I'd like to thank Kathy Camarina. She is a new consultant. She was a counselor for 21 plus years and a CTE coordinator. She went through and posted on our individual plan of study page on our ksde.org website is a list. As of the fall, we know this is these courses may change each semester, but there's a link and a report. If you go to the next slide, I'll just tell you a little bit about the report she prepared. So to make it easier for educators, students, and families, she reached out or looked on the website of each community college in Kansas to see what tiered technical funded courses were available. She separated by the different programs so they'd know what courses were available by program. And then she also did the same with the technical colleges. And so there's links to the different websites where you would go to find the courses. And then this is the breakdown again by the different area. Students are interested in learning more about what tiered technical funded courses are available. Special instructions, the link, and this is the colleges, the technical colleges were prior to help in searching for those courses. If there's special instructions to be able to find them that links directly to their page, she also provided those. Number of approved CTE pathways currently this school year, if you'll click on the next bit of text, please, 3,577. That's up from 75 from prior year. This is the most recent completed data of which we turn in for the CAR report. in collaboration with Scott and April and the team, Board of Regents, number of participants and concentrators. I want to touch on work-based learning and career and technical education. This is our continuum that was created during our pilot project that we had. And next slide, our pilot project was a collaboration between Department of Commerce and the workforce boards, Department of Labor and the Board of Regents. As a result of that, we created a work-based learning digital reference guide. It's an 84-page document, has information from Kansas Department of Labor regarding labor market information, Kansas Works Youth Registered Apprenticeship, DCF. From KBOR, we have information on Excel and CTE, degree stats. Tara Labar helped us with a degree stats lesson. And we also have information regarding the Kansas Independent College Association. Next slide. As a result of this, Mike Bean said it'd be nice to have a user-friendly digital form for business and industry. So we created digital fillable forms for work-based learning opportunities. I wanted to mention work-based learning is a required element in each of our approved pathways. I want to touch on career and technical student organizations in Kansas, and these are the 8 CTSOs that we support. The most recent count, 22-23, we have 24,816 members. I wanted to touch on the partnership. We have moved on from the pilot, and we have a funded initiative that is partnered with our work-based learning intermediaries at the workforce boards in each of the 5 regions. Mike Bean actually shared this information with me and Keith Lawing, but it shows in each of the regions in the completion of the first full years, the students that were engaged as well as businesses in work-based learning opportunities as a result in partnership of the work-based learning intermediaries. A little bit about the different activities and the total number of students engaged in those activities. And then the last slide shows students and which career pathways they were engaged in when they participated in the activities. Perkins and Pathways, where I'll finish up. As you know, we collaborate with the Board of Regents. This was our most completed academic proficiency numbers regarding concentrators, year ending 21-22. A 4-year graduation rate for CTE concentrators in the 21-22 school year was 98.59%. Concentrators who graduate with post-secondary credits, 52.46%. Quickly touch and thank the Department of Labor, Labor Market Information Services. Next slide. They provide a web page that's very friendly to our educators, our families, and our students. It includes the occupational employment projections. This information is also shared with our cluster review committees. What's really nice is it's categorized. As you can see here, they provide high demand occupations by SOC code, and then they also designate if it's both a high demand and high wage. And then they organize it by cluster and pathway. And all of our pathways of competencies were to make students aware of the occupations of which we're training, and especially those that are high demand and high wage. So the prior slide was a spreadsheet that can be downloaded. And then this next slide, they have created posters for our clusters that help show the multiple entry and exit points. If they're on this slide, they're high demand, and if they're starred, they're both high demand, high wage. So that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and thanks for allowing me the opportunity to share.
Thank you very much, Member Clark. Next, I'd like to call on Director White to present us with a licensed practical nursing realignment. Director White.
Thank you, Chair Humphrey. And just for anybody confused on the name, Henry White. I am both. My official last name is White now, but I will answer to both, whatever you want to call me. A little background on the nursing programs here in Kansas. The Kansas Board of Nursing regulates all the nursing programs within the state. They approve each program at each college and each site independently. They also set standards for the program outcomes. Every program must maintain those outcomes. In the worst case scenario, the Board of Nursing can eliminate programs. So over the past year, the Kansas Council of Practical Nurse Educators, which is a group of practical nursing program leads and faculty, reviewed our existing alignment and suggested edits that would allow more flexibility for programs to adapt to their local needs while maintaining those outcomes set by the Board of Nursing. All the programs will maintain the level of outcomes, however, would have the flexibility to enhance skills that are required by their local community. A good example, in Topeka, probably several years ago, our hospitals went to a magnet status. So that meant they needed to change staffing, how they use their nurses. So some of the LPNs, which is what we're talking about, were moved to some of our clinical sites or our non-emergent clinics, those types of things. So the programs here in Topeka might want to focus on more chronic illnesses. Yes, they're still going to do labor and delivery, the mental health, aging, all of the things that are required to be a practical nurse, but the programs really needed to focus on what their local areas are using LPNs for. So on page 17 of your packet, you will see the proposed changes to the program alignment. It looks very similar to the registered nursing program alignment at this point, where we have common prerequisite courses and the note saying that all the programs will meet the outcomes set forth by the Board of Nursing. The Board of Nursing has approved these changes to the program alignment, and I would stand for any questions. Seeing as we have none, I do need a vote to bless this alignment.
Thank you, Director White. I would accept the motion to approve the proposed revision to the practical nursing program alignment and course outcomes as presented.
This is Ray, so move.
Thank you, Ray. Can I get a second?
This is Mike. I'll second.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions or comments? Okay, if none, then Susan, can I get a roll call vote, please?
I have a motion by member Frederick and a second by member Bean. Member Hess?
Yes.
Member Hoover?
Yes.
Chair Humphrey?
Yes.
Member McCulka?
Yes.
Member Rice?
Yes.
Member Sneeden?
Yes.
Member Zimmer?
Yes.
Member Clark?
Yes.
Member Schultz?
Yes.
Chair Humphrey, that concludes the roll and the motion carries.
Thank you, Susan. Not so fast, Director White. If you could, we would, if we'd like to ask you to provide us with information on the Perkins State determined levels of performance.
Great, thank you. Following the 2018 enactment of Perkins 5, it required each state to submit a 4-year plan that is focused on improving the quality of career technical education within the state. Part of our state plan, so it's a small part but big impact, is what is called the state determined performance levels. These are basically negotiated targets based on our core indicators. And that's a lot of language to throw at you, but if you look at page 20 in our packet, you'll see our 10 core indicators that we as a state are measured on every year. If you see the letter S, so the first one I think you'll see on that list is 1S1. The S stands for secondary. Later on down the list, you'll see 3 that have a P in it. That's post-secondary. So that's how you can differentiate our core indicators. S is secondary, P is post-secondary. So in the packet, you will have our core indicator performance for academic years 21 and 22. We've also put at the bottom of that chart a link. So if you have a desire to know what each one of those actually means and what we are by federal law required to collect, there's a link. It'll take you to a Perkins Collaborative website, and it'll explain each one of those indicators. So as we are moving in to our new state plan for years 24 through 27, the states are allowed to make significant changes or minor changes. We as a state are not making significant changes to the foundation of our state plan. We believe we have a good state plan. We are on a pretty good path. Our core indicators are doing very well. But one piece that we do have to change is our state determined levels of our performance levels. Essentially, like I said before, this is a target. We have to tell the federal government, here is what we believe that we are going to be able to achieve next year. We as a state have to meet 90% of whatever target we set. If we do not hit that 90%, we get put on an improvement plan. And if we continue to fail to meet that 90%, it could result in loss of funding for the state. So with our new state plan, since we're not changing the foundation of the state plan, we just have to change the levels of performance. The federal government gives us two options. We can predict out 4 years from now what we think we're going to hit over the next 4 years, or they allow us to adjust annually. So the state Perkins team, which consists of people here at the Board of Regents and the State Department of Education, Member Clark being one of those individuals, we've decided that strategically it's better for Kansas to look at these performance levels annually. This allows us to have the flexibility to adjust our performance levels based on the previous 2 years data versus the static AY 21-22. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, on top of looking at our previous 2 years data, there are requirements in the law that says we have to make meaningful progress. That is not defined by the federal government. We have to define that as a state for ourselves. We have to average out the previous 2 years worth of data, and our performance level has to be above our average. That's really confusing, but it's fairly simple. Tobe, if you'll show that, our projections of what we're thinking of for next year. We took our previous 2 years average, so 21-22. Yes, technically we have 23, but it's not finalized yet. So we're using the 2 years that we have finalized data. We have an average, and then we adjusted the scores upward, or if you'll see maybe 1S1, for example, we are proposing we negotiate that down. Maintaining a 98%, it's hard. We know that's a hard thing to do, and at some point you are setting yourself up for failure if you're at a high level, performing at a high level constantly. But we are also allowed to negotiate with the federal government if we have unforeseen situations coming up. For example, KSDE is resetting all of their cut scores for reading, writing, math, all of those types of things. So we know that's going to have an impact. So yes, we took the average, but we looked at what we don't know is what those cut scores are going to be and tried to make a logical explanation of why we are asking to reduce our performance level. So there is no action needs to be taken today. This is simply informational purposes for us to answer any questions and to serve as the official kickoff for our stakeholder engagement. So if you guys have questions throughout this, I'm sure this is a lot to throw at you. If you have questions, want to know our logic, we are open for feedback. You can contact myself, Tobe, Vera, Natalie Clark with KSDE, or we have a perkins5@ksbor.org email address where we're willing to take any comments, any concerns about the levels that we have presented. Once we have all that feedback, we have to put this out statewide for a formal comment period. So that means we'll do a press release. It'll be sent out member bean to the workforce centers. We want their feedback. We'll send it just about everyone we can reach for their comments. After that, after we receive all comments, We will take that feedback, adjust further if we need to adjust those performance levels, and then officially submit them to the Office of Career Technical and Adult Education on May 3rd. I know that's a lot to throw at you. Do you have any questions?
This is Deb McCulka. I do have a couple. On this is interesting, and it actually is interesting. When we just heard Natalie's presentation and the work that's being done, which was a lot of hard work. So the proficiency in math. So the proficiency levels in those three academic areas, are there just quickly ideas on why those areas dropped, or why those areas anyway, yeah.
I'd be happy to share that from the two most recently completed program years, the 2022 actual performance in math, the math assessment was not administered to or taken by sophomores in Kansas in 1920 due to COVID. Thus, not representative of the full concentrator count. In addition, looking forward, a new test for state assessments will be given in 24-25, and cut scores have not yet been established. So that might help explain some of the numbers you're seeing, and then the unanticipated circumstance or the number proposed for going forward.
Okay, thank you. And then the earned, let's see, which one was it? Program quality attained post-secondary credits. What exactly is that? And yeah, how's that measured?
Sure. So it is post-secondary credits. I'm going to go back to my slide from the prior year, because it was one that we have changed to include in our new completer definition. So 5S2, correct? The program quality attained post-secondary credits. The percentage of CTE concentrators, those who have completed 2 courses and mastered 70% of the competencies, that have graduated from high school, having attained post-secondary credits in the relevant CTE program or program of study that they concentrated in, that earned dual or concurrent enrollment, or another credit transfer, but a transcripted dual credit.
So the quality is being measured or defined as attaining?
Yes, so we have 3 options that we can report on for quality, and those being an industry recognized credential aligned to the pathway, students earning, like we do, the college credit, dual credit, or completing a high quality work-based learning experience through Perkins. Correct me if I'm wrong, April, but those are the 3 that we can choose. And the one that we have chosen, secondary level, is the 5S2 program quality attained post-secondary credits.
Okay, all right, thank you. Well, and thanks for the information. And I noticed someone in the chat mentioned that if there's a way to get a copy of your presentation, your earlier presentation, Natalie, that was really interesting and it had a lot of good information. So I'll second what was in the chat window about if it's possible to get a copy of that, that would be wonderful. So that's my questions. Thank you.
Any other questions for Director White or Member Clark? Okay, thank you, Director White. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. And like I said, if you guys have any questions, because we know that's a lot to throw at you, we deal with this every day. If you guys have questions, please feel free to reach out. We're happy to answer anything you have.
Okay, great. Thanks. Now I'd like to call on Associate Director Chambers to provide us with information on FY 2023 data summary.
Thank you, Chair Humphrey. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. While funding is always reviewed as quickly as it's available, since it's approved by the TEA, conversely, we don't always talk about the number of students served. So we wanted to provide you some information that's already available, actually about academic year 2023 performance, which our institutions just reported to us here in September. So in the first 4 charts, we've done a quick comparison of academic year 22 to 23, and these are for the specialized funding initiatives. So it's no surprise that Excel and CTE is one of those. The student headcount increased in Excel and CTE a little over 11%, and the credit hours over 9%. Then in the second chart, we've also provided a breakdown of the industry recognized certifications that are earned by students, again, comparing 22 to 23. Obviously, certified nurse aide being the IRC that's most commonly earned by our high school students. Then on the second page of your issue paper, we've provided a similar breakdown of AOK, and you'll recall a much more comprehensive report from Associate Director Leahy during the last meeting. AOK specifically serves adults that are seeking their GED and enrolled in adult basic skills programs while concurrently pursuing a certificate or award in a CTE program. And there we increased almost 30% in the number of students assisted by AOK. GED Accelerator, this provides incentives to colleges, and that's based on their adults that are enrolled in eligible CTE programs and seeking and earning either a GED or their high school equivalency diploma, and or they may also earn an identified industry recognized certification. This particular program increased almost 22% in the number of students eligible pursuing their GED. So we have some really good news stories to tell with these funding initiatives. I would just quickly mention that if you compare the calculated funding information I've provided here to the distributions that the authority approved in September, these do not match. There's a reason. You'll recall that in Excel and CTE and AOK specifically included a 5% inflationary adjustment for the colleges to apply to their campus salaries. And conversely, in GED Accelerator, our available funding was $61,868. So that was prorated to accommodate the available funding. So the following 2 charts on the last 2 pages of your issue paper, these are based on data that's available in KeyStats. The first chart is for community colleges, the second is for technical colleges, and KeyStats provides a lot more reports than just these, but already for academic year 2023, we can look at enrollment by head count by program, as well as the number of credentials earned each year by program. And I would mention that credentials here refer to awards, so certificates, associate degrees. We're not talking about industry recognized certifications. So what I actually did is I thought it might be interesting to put those 2 reports side by side so that you could see enrollment in program types versus credentials awarded. So what you have here, just taking the first as the example, in agriculture and related sciences, you have the 2018 enrollment by headcount in those programs, and then the 22 and 23. This allows you then to see what makes up that 1-year percentage change from 22 to 23, and then the 5-year percentage change of 150% increase in the enrollment by headcount in community colleges in ag and related programs, which is a great news story. Then on the right-hand side, you see the number of credentials by program. Again, we have 2018 and then 22 and 23 so that you can see the numbers that correspond to those percentage changes. And I would also tell you that when you pull these reports for yourself, obviously 2019, 2020, and 2021 are populated in those reports when you look at that. So good news, both enrollment and credentials increased significantly for our community colleges in the 1-year change area in agriculture, engineering, tech, and transportation, which are high demand occupational areas. And then on the last page, this is for our technical colleges. It's a very similar report. We see that enrollment and credentials both also increased significantly for our technical colleges in the 1-year change in agriculture, computer and information sciences, family and consumer sciences, and transportation. Again, this is great news because these are high demand occupational areas. This is for informational purposes only. This does not require action. I would also just mention quickly that we hope to have the KTIP highlights ready to present in the next meeting. And this will compare our Kansas Department of Labor high demand occupation information against our academic year 2022 graduates and their employment rates and average wages. And I would stand for any questions.
This is Deb McCulka. This is really interesting, having just sat in on one of the, or been able to participate with one of the Perkins assessment. This is really good information, because one of the questions we asked with that the Perkins needs assessment in the committee, they're saying, what areas do we need in our areas, and what information, so what are our gaps, which is a question in my mind when Natalie presented, this information that you all are compiling and presenting should be extremely helpful, not only identifying strengths or what we're doing right, but if there are gaps or needs in programming and in these fields, because business and industry knows this much better than I, but it changes so quickly, and we have to figure out how we're responsive to meeting the needs of business and industry. And some of this information, while it's behind, is still it's not that far behind, and it's extremely helpful, I think, in the needs assessment process. So it's long-winded saying that's really interesting, and I think it's pretty helpful.
Thank you. And I would just mention too that you're absolutely right. Yes, data unfortunately always has a bit of a lag because it has to be reported, but this is extremely fresh information. And when you look at key stats reporting, I've done the aggregation here at the community and technical college level. It's possible to do that at the full system level. It's also possible to do this, pull this report for each individual technical and community college, which would then help support those regional needs assessments very, very well.
This is Todd Zimmer. Quick question for you.
Yes.
Where would aviation or aviation manufacturing fall into this chart? I made an assumption of precision production, but wanted to clarify.
Yes, and that's an excellent question. Thank you. So actually precision production falls into the zip codes that start with the number 48. So think welding, think machine tech. And if I am not mistaken, I believe that our aviation programs actually fall into the zip codes that start with 47. You wouldn't see this on there, but those are the mechanic and repair technologies. And I actually did a little of that research beforehand because I was anticipating a question such as that. And I wanted to know for myself. So these categories here, I would just mention, are based on the zip code designations by the National Center for Education Statistics. We look a lot at KTIP, and KTIP actually uses the state's career cluster initiative clusters when we get ready to look at that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions for Associate Director Chambers? If not, then thank you very much, Associate Director Chambers. We really appreciate that. And that concludes our agenda for today. So I'd like to remind everyone that the next regularly scheduled TEA meeting is scheduled to be held virtually via Zoom on December 21st, 2023 at 10 a.m. Oh,
Chair
that's
Humphrey,
right, Scott. We did
just
put that
sorry.
on item H. Yeah, I thought we had talked about it enough, but okay. So
I'm sorry.
this is the letter. This is the letter that we had finalized to get a budget increase from Governor Kelly. So I'll go ahead and refer back to you on this, Vice President Smathers. Sorry.
Thank you, sir. Well, as I believe explained in the email where you received this, the budget office puts together an initial budget for the governor, kind of as a starting point, and then the governor is able to come through and makes her adjustments, and ultimately she will be putting out a proposed budget, I believe, right after she gives her State of the State speech. So I believe the following day she comes out with her proposed budget. And this year the budget office recommendations basically left the base budget unchanged. But they didn't drop anything, but they didn't really add anything, and they didn't continue any of the new funding from last year that were also part of the items. So as I had provided you before, we have an opportunity to provide a letter to the governor's office, basically saying if we think additional items should be included beyond what the budget office has initially recommended. And what we did is we took the items that the TEA had recommended last year, and if they were not in this year's budget, we went ahead and have added them to this letter, is basically where we came up with the items from this letter. So we've done this similar, we've done something similar the last couple years at least. And this is not necessarily something you all need to vote on, but we did want to make sure if any of the members have concerns with what we are proposing, to have Chair Humphrey send to the governor's office. As I said, it follows pretty much what was recommended in last year in our May meeting for the TEA. Our items follow that. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Yeah, this is Cindy. Does this, so I get mixed up on the years we're actually approving because it's so far out, but does this actually give the colleges the full funding that they are requesting?
What this does is this is for next year's funding, if that makes sense. So for this year, the funding has already been allocated, and you will see we believe this year we will have enough funding to cover many of these items. The one item we are asking for that we do not have is the extra 100,000 for adult ed. So we are asking that be added to this year's amounts that have already been allocated out, for lack of a better way of putting it, for adult ed. But all these other funds are for what we're expecting for next year. And I also will tell you, when you look at our estimates for Excel and CTE, tiered and non-tiered, those are estimates. That's the best way I can put it. It's we've seen, based off of what you just saw with Associate Director Chambers document, there's growth. How much do we expect it to grow this year? And obviously some of these funds we also have carryover for. So all that's coming into play for how we're accounting and what we're asking for.
Okay. Yeah, my concern is only that we do see a lot of these additional requests to add programs. The student numbers are going up, and the colleges aren't going to be able to afford to continue, I wouldn't think, to continue to add students and programs if the funding isn't there to support that. And we're so far out in our requesting dollar, we're always a year or two behind, right? So
Right.
you kind of have to I don't know if we're estimating enough growth to support what we want in order to increase the numbers. So that was my only,
Sure.
I don't have any issues with the letter or anything like that. I just wonder if we maybe need to take a more long-term view of that and what the increases are looking like to see if maybe we need to establish a higher funding limits in the future.
Sure, and obviously we're doing it on a annual basis as we're going forward. If you'd like, I can have Vice President Frisbee join in on this. What we do basically is we look at the numbers and are just giving, our best estimate off of what we've got. But if you'd like to hear more of why we've come up with some of these numbers and explain this in more detail, I can have her jump on if you would like.
I don't know that that's necessary. I guess I'm just concerned, and maybe this isn't a concern, but I think maybe with what the colleges are submitting, right? And because we are behind, I'm just not sure we're getting what they need when they need it. So maybe that's more of a question for when we do visits and things, to have those conversations and make sure that we are supporting what they need going forward. So I've heard that comment, so I was planning to ask some of those questions when I make my visits.
Well, and we do pay a year in arrears. So we base our payments off of what they did the previous year is how we do most of our programs and put it out there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Smathers. One thing before we adjourn, I'd like to welcome Todd Zimmer to the TEAs. He's our newest member. I think this is the first time that we've all been in a meeting together, but both Todd and I were out on the 26th of last month. So welcome aboard, Todd, and look forward to getting to know you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Humphreys. I appreciate the intro and welcome to the team. Look forward to getting to meet as many of you as possible face to face. I apologize. I really wanted to make last month's meeting that was in person, but had a business trip scheduled. So looking forward to working with everybody.
Great. Thanks, Todd. So I guess that's it then. I'd like to remind everyone again that the next scheduled TEA meeting is scheduled to be on a virtual meeting again on Zoom on December 21st, 2023 at 10 a.m. And with no further business, I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting adjourned and thank everyone. And please ask everyone to have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. And we'll see you all of you before Christmas next month. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Keith.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.